Now that the assembly's gone, New York is getting ready for its next big event, the vice presidential debate tomorrow night. Honestly, I'm not even going to watch it, and I'm going to tell you why. I already know who I'm voting for vice president-wise. But I'm going to be honest, president, still undecided. So here's the thing. As an undecided, it's basically me and 6 people who were kicked in the head by very powerful horses. I've been leaning towards Kamala Harris because of her impressive resume and her ability to switch from Indian to black like that. Like that. Like that. And if we were doing this show 15 years ago, I would probably be doing the voices. A long time ago. But on the other hand, about Kamala Harris, I've been hearing some very concerning things about her.
She's come under some criticism for being relatively vague in her policy proposals.
They don't have enough specifics on the solutions.
When she tried to explain what she would do, it made no sense. It's gibberish.
The public demands a detailed plan of action, and they're not getting it from her.
We demand that! If there is one thing that the American public demands, it is a detailed plan of, ooh, the Golden Bachelorette. I hope they selected candidates who live nearby her because old people are not known to want to change their lives. Anyway, back to the point. The point is, Harris speaks gibberish because she is part Indian, part black, and part gibber. If Kamala Harris dissolves into gibberish every time she's asked for specific policies, then I dare say she will not earn my completely irrelevant New Jersey vote.
I will get rid of unnecessary decree requirements for federal jobs.
Low and no interest loans to small businesses.
Expand the tax deduction for startups to $50,000. $6,000 in tax relief to families during the first year of a child's life. Capital gains will be 28%.
Excuse me? But as Americans, we demanded a detailed plan of action, not random numbers. You have left the door wide open, lady. Because clearly Donald Aloysius Trump would not trifle with America in that manner.
What are the specific mechanics of how prices come down? You know, the steps that would be taken in a second term for you?
Ooh. Good question. Mr. Trump, what is your detailed plan of action for bringing down prices? And I believe I'll mark your responses on this handy-dandy chart. I already have my pen ready all the way up here at the top of specificity and make sensitude. Begin.
First of all, she can't do an interview. She could never do this interview because you ask questions like, give me a specific answer. She talks about her lawn when she was growing up. This woman is not equipped to be president.
I guess I had the wrong chart. And the question, sir, was specific to how are you going to bring down inflation? Your answer so far has been, huh? but perhaps I cut you off unfairly.
She's not equipped to deal with President Xi, who I took in hundreds of billions of dollars with him, and Putin. We had no war with Putin. Remember, and I'm just going to go off just for this, with Bush, they took a lot, Russia. With Biden, they're trying to take everything. With Obama, they took a lot. With Trump, Russia took nothing. Just remember that.
Now, you know what? Maybe he didn't really want to talk about his inflation policy, since economists say it would make inflation worse, which, you know, is the wrong direction. Let's give Trump a second chance.
If you win in November, can you commit to prioritizing legislation to make childcare affordable? And if so, what specific piece of legislation will you advance?
Oh, that's a fabulous question. That's a fabulous question. Children need child care, whether it's a nanny or duct tape to a chair with an iPad. But it costs money. Obviously, duct tape and iPads and in-app purchases are...
Well, I would do that, and we're sitting down. You know, I was somebody, we had Senator Marco Rubio, and my daughter Ivanka was so impactful on that issue. It's a very important issue. But I think when you talk about the kind of numbers that I'm talking about, that, because, look, child care is child care.
Now, we could let the tape continue where he says we will pay for child care with the trillions we're going to receive by levying tariffs on foreign nations, which apparently isn't how that works, but it. One more.
Political opponents are saying that you want to ban IVF. Those who are watching here tonight who may be going through this same struggle and are concerned about being able to have this option. And I'd love for you to talk to them about how they should feel.
Life is pretty tough. It can be beautiful, but it can be difficult. We are doing something with IVF, because IVF, as you know from friends and people you know, it's really worked out very well for a lot of people. It gave them a child when they would not have had a child. And I told my people I wanted to look at this a couple of weeks ago. And as you know, we have no taxes on a thing called tips. You know that?
What the actual are you talking about? How do you want people to feel about IVF? Well, I have no taxes on a thing called tips. You know what? I do actually see the connection. I get it now. So you see, IVF fertilizes an egg with a sperm, and sperm comes from a penis, and a penis has a tip. So I can only assume Donald Trump is talking about circumcision, which Jews call a tax on tips. All right, let's move on. Clearly. So clearly, what people like about Donald Trump is not his clear, specific policies as they demand from Kamala Harris. But hey, I'm still open. I'm an undecided voter, you know, because of the horse kick to my head. Let's hear some of Trump's passionate supporters explain what they see as his strengths.
He has really become the candidate of the working man, of the everyman.
President Trump cares deeply about rig workers, truck drivers, roughnecks.
He worked with plumbers and electricians. He worked with painters and bricklayers.
President Trump is the best friend American workers have ever had in the White House.
He's our best friend! Donald Trump is the champion of hardworking men and women. He's behind every kind of worker, from auto to sex. The kind of people... Donald Trump is behind the kind of people who have to work overtime to pay the bills.
I know a lot about overtime. I'd hated to give overtime. I hated it. I'd get other people, I shouldn't say this, but I'd get other people in, I wouldn't pay. I hated.
Yeah, you're right. You shouldn't have said that. You shouldn't have said it at all, because you're admitting to f***ing people over who worked for you. I mean, it's funny, but it undercuts the working man's friend thing. Well, yeah, it's fine. You don't want to give them overtime, but it's not like you think it's funny to fire them when they complain about something like not getting overtime.
Well, you're the greatest cutter. I mean, I look at what you do. You walk in and you just say, you want to quit? They go on strike. I won't mention the name of the company, but they go on strike, and you say, that's okay, you're all gone. You're all gone. So every one of you is gone.
I gotta say, every time Trump talks about workers, it's like watching A Christmas Carol in reverse. I just fired these 3 ghosts who are trying to get overtime. So the supporting the working man thing is nonsense. What other things do his supporters like about him?
I think in 65 days, the American people are going to vote for President Trump because they know he's the guy who will defend their right to speak.
We are aligned with each other on other key issues, like protecting freedom of speech.
Okay, I get it now. So it's not really a policy case for Trump. It's a principle case for Trump. The man, no matter what is said about him, he believes in the Bill of Rights, the Constitution. The government should never punish speech, even if you don't like the speech.
Mr. Trump saying publicly the FCC should revoke ABC's license over unfounded claims about ABC News allegedly rigging the presidential debate.
Former President Trump says that he will deport students who participate in pro-Palestinian protests.
Donald Trump said that anyone who criticizes the Supreme Court justices should be arrested and jailed.
Donald Trump earlier today said you burn the American flag, you should get a year behind bars.
During the 2024 campaign, Trump has been, quote, venting about the need to punish late-night comedians for their anti-Trump material.
Isn't being on basic cable at 11 p.m. punishment enough? All right. So we know the policy thing about free speech and the hero of the working class thing are all bullshit. But I'm still undecided. I'm still open. Give me something I could work with.
He's an anti-war guy. He is going to get us out of these endless wars.
President Trump believes that the next 4 years, we need no new wars.
First of all, I didn't know Max Headroom still had a show. But still, anti-war. I'm anti-war. I'm absolutely behind that sentiment.
But if I were the president, I would inform the threatening country, in this case Iran, that if you do anything to harm this person, we are going to blow your largest cities and the country itself to smithereens. We're going to blow it to smithereens. You can't do that.
That's just war with Iran. Middle East doesn't count. We've been bombing them for 40 years. They love it. Okay, forget about ideals. Forget about policies. What are the personal qualities you're voting for?
People just like that honesty of Donald Trump. He tells it like it is.
A man of his word.
He's a truth teller.
Are you f***ing kidding me right now? Are you f***ing kidding me right now? He is a truth teller?
They're eating the dogs.
Oh, and by the way,
They're eating the cats.
Anything else?
They're eating the pets of the people that live there.
Meow, 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 meow. Meow, 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 meow. Of the people that live there. Am I the only motherfucker on TikTok? No? Nobody else? My wife sent me that like 10 times. And so we find ourselves not in a dilemma, but in a bit of a conundrum. The qualities and policies that people profess to be what they admire and love about former President Trump don't seem to be an accurate reflection of said former president. It's as though they've created a fictional character, a bizarro Trump, whose accomplishments and character bear little resemblance to the self-aggrandizing perpetual victim guy he continues to tell you explicitly that he is. It makes you wonder, what country does Donald Trump think he's running to lead?
Our cities have already become hellholes, a crime-ridden, gang-infested, terror-filled dumping ground, bloodshed, chaos, and violent crime. A deluge of illegals pouring in by the millions and millions. Drug dealers, human traffickers, bloodthirsty terrorists, savage gang members, pedophiles, stone-cold killers. You can't walk across the street to get a loaf of bread, you get shot. Teenagers cut to shreds. They'll walk into your kitchen, they'll cut your throat.
See, this fictional Trump, who is portrayed as much better than he actually is running to be president of a country he paints as much worse than it actually is. But I gotta tell you, whatever country that is, where families are routinely murdered several times while making breakfast, could really use actual Donald Trump. The rest of us, not so much.
For those of you just tuning in to the presidential race, which, by the way, congratulations. That must be nice. Just tuning in? Let me break down who these two men are. There's Tim Walz, Minnesota governor and the neighbor from Home Improvement, and J.D. Vance, Ohio senator and guy with the social skills of ChatGPT. On paper, they have a lot in common. They're both Midwestern dads. They both have military backgrounds. They both hate Donald Trump. They both watch Shawshank every time it's on TV, even though they have it on DVD. But as much as these guys have in common, they've been going pretty hard at each other over this campaign. Walz has repeatedly called Vance weird. He made a joke about him banging a couch. And worst of all, he implied that he's a fancy boy.
Like all regular people I grew up with in the heartland, J.D. studied at Yale.
He's a Yale law guy. I'm public school teacher.
We don't need a Yale-educated philosophy major. I had 24 kids in my high school class, and none of them went to Yale.
Oh, shit. Check out this bitch and his quality education. I get what Tim Walz is doing, but ease up a little. I mean, the only person who talks more about going to Yale than Tim Walz is everyone who went to Yale. But Vance's attacks on Walz have been just as personal. He's accused Walz of stolen valor. He's claimed he's a compulsive liar. And he even suggested that Walz doesn't actually love his wife.
Talk about weird with Tim Walz. I don't know if you guys saw the rally yesterday, but afterwards, his wife comes up to him, and Tim Walz does what any normal Midwestern guy would do, seeing his beautiful wife on stage after his speech. He gives her a firm handshake. Right? That's pretty weird.
Yeah, come on, Tim. Finger blast your wife, dude. It's a rally, not a funeral. A real man greets his wife doggy style. What are you doing? Also, to be fair to Tim Walz, in Minnesota, a firm handshake is considered third base. But Even though it's been personal between these two, both Vance and Walz are professionals, and that means engaging in the traditional pre-debate game of lowering expectations. It's a careful strategy where you hype up your opponent's debating skills while downplaying yours, so that even a mediocre performance seems like a win. Let's see how Tim Walz handled his attempt to lower expectations.
Sources now tell CNN that Tim Walz is fighting off a case of the nerves ahead of his debate with Senator J.D. Vance. He is said to be nervous that he might let Kamala Harris down.
And we know he did warn Harris during the vetting process that he's a bad debater.
Okay, that might be lowering expectations too much. Tim, you want to be more like, my opponent is a slick talker, not me talk bad, disappoint pretty lady. You want, I'm new to all this, not, I'm so stupid a dog used peanut butter to trick me into licking his balls. Meanwhile, on the Republican side, Donald Trump took a swing at lowering expectations for J.D. Vance. Now remember, Mr. Trump, the goal is to subtly suggest that J.D. Vance might have a hard time at the debate because he's going up against a skilled debater. Show us.
He's going up against a moron, a total moron.
Crushed it. Crushed it. But it wasn't just the candidates preparing for the debate. The debate moderators were also trying to find ways to keep them honest. Now, at the last debate between Kamala and Trump, ABC got heat for live fact-checking the whole dogs and cats thing. So tonight, CBS took a different approach.
CBS says there will be no live fact-checking by the moderators, but the broadcast will feature a QR code on the screen which will link to a real-time fact-check being done by CBS journalists.
Yes, a QR code. Perfect journalism. When a candidate tells a lie, why correct it for the 50 million people watching live? Just have a link for the 12 nerds who bother scanning it. Am I supposed to be impressed that they have a QR code? Every asshole has a QR code. We even have one right here. Yeah, it's just a menu for a Mexican restaurant I went to during the pandemic, but still, you can scan this if you want. There it is, right there. After all that preparation, the debate finally began at 9 o'clock. And right off the bat, there was a big difference between these guys and Trump's debate with Kamala, or Trump's debate with anyone. These guys seem to actually get along.
You're going to hear a lot from Tim Walz this evening, and you just heard it in the answer. A lot of what Kamala Harris proposes to do, and some of it, I'll be honest with you, it even sounds pretty good.
So the rhetoric is good. Much of what the senator said right there, I'm in agreement with him on this.
Governor Walz and I actually probably agree that we need to do better on this.
I believe Senator Vance wants to solve this.
I agree with you. I think you want to solve this problem.
I agree with a lot of what Senator Vance said.
I actually agree with Tim Walz.
Wow. Maybe you two should run together. Yeah. Maybe a date? It seems like you have a lot in common. Hello, CBS, it's Tim. We're going to share an Uber home. But seriously, to see two candidates being civil with each other, even though they disagree, it was surprising and personally boring as shit. I mean, talk about something interesting like who's going to eat the cats. Nobody's going to turn any of these sound bites into a TikTok. That's not to say the whole thing was cordial. There was one moment where things got so heated the moderators had to take matters into their own hands.
Well, Margaret, but
thank you, Senator. We have so much to get to.
Margaret, I think it's important because
we're going to turn out of the economy. Thank
Margaret,
you.
That is the facilitation of illegal immigration, Margaret, by
Thank you, Senator, for describing the legal process. We have so much to get to, Senator.
The CBP app has not been on the books since 1990. It's something that Kamala Harris created, Margaret.
Gentlemen, the audience can't hear you because your mics are cut.
Okay, now, that's within the rules, but it did seem like they kind of enjoyed it. No, no one can hear you because we cut the mics. Speaking as a voter who's been watching this campaign for like the last 200 years, this might have been my favorite moment. If Nora and Margaret could offer everybody in America a button that mutes politicians, we would elect that ticket. Now, for a lot of America, this debate was the first introduction to the VP candidates, and we learned a lot about their positions. Like, Walz had this droopy dog position, and J.D. Vance had this position. But they both surprised me a bit. For example, when talking about immigration, Walz quoted a book I didn't think Democrats had ever read. I guess it's called the Bible.
I don't talk about my faith a lot, but Matthew 25:40 talks about, to the least amongst us you do unto me.
Wow, Tim Walz has really stolen every Republican shtick. You know, he's folksy, he's into cars, hunts, quotes the Bible. You know, what's next? He's going to find out he's the webmaster of nudeafrica.com. And we learned a surprising thing about Vance as well. He does support diversity in certain circumstances.
Let the individual states make their abortion policy. And I think that's what makes the most sense in a very big, a very diverse and divided country. We can be a big and diverse country where we respect people's freedom of conscience. Donald Trump has been very clear that on the abortion policy specifically, that we have a big country and it's diverse.
Yeah. Okay, you see, America, Republicans do support diversity. Some states believe women should have rights, and some don't. It's the beautiful tapestry of America. Now, if you remember, Tim did tell Kamala he was a bad debater. And there was one moment in this debate when I said, yeah, he is. Fact check, true.
You said you were in Hong Kong during the deadly Tiananmen Square protests in the spring of 1989. But Minnesota Public Radio and other media outlets are reporting that you actually didn't travel to Asia until August of that year. Can you explain that discrepancy?
All I said on this was I got there that summer and misspoke on this. So I will just, that's what I've said. So I was in Hong Kong and China during the democracy protests went in. And from that, I learned a lot of what needed to be in governance.
Damn. You know you're blowing the Tiananmen Square question when you look more nervous than the dude staring down the tank. If you didn't like that joke, here's a QR code you can scan to get a refund for this portion of the show. Thank you. You don't know how much time we spent on those QR codes. So now Vance, on the other hand, to his credit, did a great job in the debate. He was smooth, he was confident, he was prepared. The only problem he may have had was his memory.
Donald Trump's economic policies delivered the highest take-home pay in a generation in this country, 1.5% inflation, and to boot, peace and security all over the world.
Peace around the world. There wasn't even peace in this country. The only time there was peace was when we were all locked in our house cleaning our vegetables with Clorox wipes. Wipes I stole from my neighbor and sold them on eBay, which did increase my take-home pay, so thank you, Donald Trump. Now, so what did we learn about tonight? Well, first, let's be honest. 99% of voters will not care about the VP debate. That's a fact. If you want to check it, you can scan this QR code. We had to do one more, which will open up your internet browser, and you can Google it yourself. I'm busy. I'm hosting a live TV show, okay? But aside from that, the thing I took away from this debate was that both of these men, they made the Midwest proud. All right, this debate was an oasis of Midwestern nice. And just like Midwestern nice, it was a mask covering deep-seated hatred and resentment. Don't let 90 minutes of them in a room together fool you. These men represent two movements that are at each other's throats, and their visions for America are radically different. So tonight might have been all, I agree, and my friend has a point, but tomorrow morning, we're all going to be back to this.
We're not going back! We're not going back! Suck my Suck my
Let's kick things off with the big vice presidential debate, the only time these candidates will face off. Well, in the United States. The European tour is kicking off next week. But for those of us who found it very exciting, there actually was one particular moment that everyone is talking about today.
In what was the night's most contentious exchange, Vance refused to acknowledge that Donald Trump lost the 2020 election.
I would just ask that, did he lose the 2020 election?
Tim, I'm focused on the future.
I'm focused on the future? I didn't know you could answer questions with that. You know, next time my wife asks me why I forgot to pick up the kids, I'll say, hey. I'm focused on the future. Where are the kids now? Or how about the next time I get pulled over? Do you know how fast you're going? I know how fast I am going. 0 miles per hour. That's got to count for something, officer. But I appreciate J.D. Vance. He's not focused on Trump trying to steal the last election. He's focused on Trump trying to steal the next election. And honestly, that is progress. But of course, it's not just the debate that matters. Because, yeah, some people form their opinion by watching it as it happens, but a lot more people form their opinion by watching other people's opinions. You know how you go to a fancy restaurant that took months to get reservations, it's so expensive, and at the end you're thinking, that wasn't very good. But then the people at your table are like, that was the best meal I ever had. And then you're like, you know, it was pretty good. You know, maybe putting cannellini beans in ice cream wasn't disgusting. And that's why both parties put so much effort into spinning the debate result, because it's effective. So let's get to the real debate, the one between the pundits, starting with the conservatives. They thought J.D. Vance did a great job, so they were very happy to spike the ball.
It was quite obvious that J.D. Vance won the debate tonight. I'm incredibly proud of J.D.
Had a fantastic performance.
The future of the Republican Party is J.D. Vance.
Kind of wiped the floor with Tim Walz.
I don't think he could have done better under the circumstances.
10 out of 10 for J.D. Vance.
It was a masterclass.
He looked humble. He looked earnest, sharp, 20 years younger than Walz. He looked beautiful tonight.
Yeah. As a longtime political expert, my analysis on J.D. Vance, you're beautiful. You're beautiful, it's true. but yeah, it seemed like J.D. Vance made his party proud last night, and I'm sure nobody was more proud than the big guy himself, Donald Trump.
Kristen, interesting little side note at 10:02 p.m. Eastern time, Donald Trump, this is in the middle of the debate, tweeted about the death of baseball great Pete Rose.
The great Pete Rose just died. He was one of the most magnificent baseball players ever to play the game. He paid the price. Major League Baseball should have allowed him into the Hall of Fame many years ago. Do it now before his funeral.
Do it before the funeral? You don't have to bring the body to the Hall of Fame to swear him in. Look, I want to rag on Trump, but this is why he's so relatable. Even when it's his vice president, he can't watch the VP debate without looking at his phone like, let me see what's on ESPN, you know? Now, that tweet may seem unrelated to the debate, but Pete Rose was a beloved figure who played for Cincinnati, which is in Ohio, which is next to several swing states. So the calculus here is actually, I'm just kidding, he was bored as shit. All right, so... And seeing this tweet, it must have been rough for J.D. Vance. Think about it. It's like hitting a home run at your Little League game and looking to the stands to see your dad's proud, smiling face and realizing he's at home tweeting about the death of Pete Rose. So that was the conservative reaction. On the liberal side, they kind of knew Tim Walz didn't crush it, so they were focused on subtly undermining J.D. Vance's performance. See if you can pick it up.
One of these candidates is much slicker than the other.
J.D. Vance was very slick.
He is much more polished. He's slick.
I've never seen someone so slick and smooth and not directly answering questions.
He talked a good game. You know, he was slick with it.
He was good. I mean, he was too slick, maybe.
The slick debater.
He looked shifty. He looked slick.
Yes, he was slick.
Slick, slick, slick.
Thank God we have all these sharp political pundits to give us a broad array of opinions. They called him slick so much that I couldn't tell if Tim Walz was debating J.D. Vance or Moo Dang. Now that's a wet hippo. I don't think that sentence has ever been said on late night television before. Now, if you're wondering what they meant by slick, slick is liberal speak for he was good and we're mad about it. It's such a backhanded compliment. If you look up slick in the dictionary, it says smart, but in a bad Italian-American kind of way. Well, like, it doesn't really matter who the pundits think won the debate. The only thing that matters is whether the debate will have any effect on the election. And on that point, voters are answering with a resounding nope.
In a new CBS News poll, 42% said Vance won versus 41% for Walz. The rest said it was a tie.
Look at the CNN polling. It's very evenly split for Vance, 51%, and Walz, 49%.
Great. The entire debate was pointless and irrelevant. So, in a way, it really did prepare them to be vice president. Let's move on to a pretty big story that happened this week. You might not know this, but when you order a foam roller or a stapler on Amazon, it's not just magically made on your doorstep by elves. No, it's made in China by children, and then it's put on a ship and it's sent to America, where dock workers take it off the ship. But right now, those dock workers aren't taking anything off any ship.
A port strike by some 50,000 dock workers across the East and Gulf Coast entering its third day this morning.
The U.S. dock workers are fighting for higher pay and for protections against automation, essentially robots taking their jobs.
Workers say foreign-owned shipping companies have made record profits, and they want a piece of the pie for their hard work.
We want to work. We're just saying we need fair wages. How the hell can I go work at McDonald's and make what I'm making now? Makes no sense.
Okay, good message. Good message. Not a very easy chant. We want to work. According to some schools of philosophic thought, it is man's nature to work. But we also have material needs that must be addressed. It's the tension between these two conflicting dynamics that has resulted in our collective labor action. I couldn't even get through it. Thank you. So yes, the dock workers are on strike, which my researchers tell me threatens the United States economy because longshoremen play an important role in the supply chain. And believe me, their leader, he makes that very clear.
People never gave a about us until now, when they finally realized that the chain is being broke now. You know how many people depend on our jobs? Half the world.
Let's get a contract and let's move on with this world. And in today's world, I'll cripple you. I will cripple you, and you have no idea what that means.
Hey, man, don't cripple me, all right? I'm not a shipping conglomerate. Leave me out of it. I'm just a guy who addresses his mild anxiety with the dopamine hit of spending $70 on Amazon every day. Now, you could argue that the phrase, I'll cripple you, is a little aggro coming from a union boss, but I'll tell you what's never worked is when workers say, hi, excuse me, for-profit multinational company, I was just kind of wondering if you had some extra money you didn't want. Maybe we could have it? So that's why he went with, I'll cripple you. Now, you might be thinking, hey, being crippled sounds like a bad thing. Just pay these guys more so that doesn't happen. But some people think they get paid enough already, so this probably isn't helping.
He does have a bit of a lavish lifestyle. He's got a $2.4 million home, Sparta, New Jersey. He's got a Bentley, which he's been known to drive around town in. He's also got a $1.4 million home, according to Newsweek, in Highland Beach, Florida. Elon Musk made a really interesting post on X. He said, dude has more yachts than me.
I mean, this is what I love about America. Yeah, everyone's cool if a tech CEO or movie star or TikToker who farts on cakes has a big house. But if you're working hard labor, they're like, you should sleep in a bunk bed at your mother's house just like the rest of us. Look, I get it. Yeah, I get it. This is not what you expect when you think of a longshoreman. You think of a crusty old guy who lives in a shack and has sex with a mermaid, be it through some sort of fish vagina thing, or maybe they're doing oral if there's no vagina. What was I talking about? I don't. Anyway, despite the bad optics, the longshoremen have a lot of political support in this fight. Both Kamala Harris and Donald Trump are backing the striking workers, a sign that even in these polarized times, both candidates really want to win the election in a few weeks. And you might be wondering, how can I help support these striking dock workers? Just kidding. You're wondering, is this going to affect me? Unfortunately, it might.
Analysts expect you'll start to see pressure on the prices you pay or possible shortages if this lasts another 1 to 2 weeks.
A prolonged strike could impact banana shipments, new car deliveries, imported chocolate, and alcohol, to name just a few.
Oh no, bulldozers, medicine, and hearing aids are one thing, but please, God, don't make me eat domestic chocolate, you know? It's Swiss or nothing. Chocolate has to look like one of those things that keep me from backing up after I rent a car. And no more banana shipments? Every sex ed teacher must be freaking out right now. This is how they demonstrate how to put on a condom. What are they going to use now, zucchini? Penises don't look like zucchini. Penises look exactly like bananas. So the strike could affect the supply of lots of things. But this is America, and there's one product that we care about more than any other.
With news of 45,000 dock workers going on strike, Americans are snapping up all the essential items they can get their hands on, especially toilet paper.
It's happening again. Panic buying for toilet paper. Social media is flooded with empty store shelves. People are stocking up on essentials like toilet paper.
We sold out of toilet paper by 11:30 a.m.
Okay. Now, to be fair, even if you buy one package of toilet paper at Costco, it looks like you're panic buying toilet paper. But you know who should really be taking advantage of these panic runs? Big bidet, right? This is, yeah, bidet. This is bidet's time to shine. Bidets. Power wash your asshole. You almost clapped too early. But look, I have good news for people who are engaging in hand-to-hand combat in the Costco aisles. A port strike is not going to affect your toilet paper supply.
No one needs to be panicking about where their next TP is coming from. America makes toilet paper. We do not import it.
You see? We do still make things in America.